Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Watches TV, where I watch all the TV shows, and then I come over here and I talk about them. So if you like TV shows, why not come over here and hang out with me, hit that subscribe button, and come over here. I post probably 4 to 5 times a week. I talk about reality television, I talk about Sister Wives, I talk about all the new true crime that comes out, the spooky shows for Halloween, I talk about all the scripted shows on Netflix and Apple, anything new that's coming out, I try to watch and react to as soon as possible. Today, I want to talk about a new show that just came out this last week on Netflix. The show is called True Haunting. I'm not really sure how to do this reaction because the show is currently streaming on top 10. I think it's number 4 on the Netflix top 10 in the US. And so I know a lot of people have not seen it yet. And so I don't really want to spoil it for people. So I'm just going to kind of give an overview and my reaction to it. All right. So I will tell you immediately. So what it is it's a 5-part series. It reminds me a little bit of the paranormal episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, the remake that they did on Netflix, which I love, and I can't wait for the next one to come out. I loved Unsolved Mysteries as a kid, and I love the Netflix how they've redone it. I think the last one was not as great as the first season, but I love that they're redoing that. So anyway, it reminded me a little bit of that, except for that the first story was 3 episodes, and the second story was 2 episodes. So it's 5 episodes. And the first story is called Eerie Hall, and the second story is called This House Murdered Me. And so they're 2 completely separate stories. Each episode, I think, is between like 35 and 38 minutes long, so it's not long to watch. I watched it over 2 days. And honestly, the reason why I watched it over 2 days was because I got a little bored. I watched the first 2 episodes 2 nights ago, and then I went and I started watching Shetland, which is like my favorite show right now on BritBox. I'm obsessed with, I have 1 episode left of season 3. I'm obsessed with Shetland right now. So if you have any BritBox shows, murder mysteries to recommend from BritBox, put it in the comment section below. But anyway, I wanted to watch something really spooky last night. So I was like, I'm going to finish this, and then I will do my reaction tomorrow on this channel. So I was like, I'm going to finish this. To be honest with you, I got kind of bored with it. It's not horrible. I was like talking to my friend about it last night. She's like, should I watch it? And I said, it's enjoyable. Like, I think you would like it. I think for Halloween and spooky season, Halloween is my favorite holiday. I love anything spooky and scary. So I think for that, I think it's, I think it's a good show to watch for that. I think it feels very kind of like a family show to watch, but family maybe like middle grade and up. I don't know that. I think it'd be kind of scary for some little kids. It is very graphic, and it's about possession and haunting is what it's about. Here's the thing. And this is something that I realized last night. I took a lot of notes on this show, actually, which I'm probably not even going to use. But I just kind of like, as I was watching, I would just like write something down that I wanted to remember. And so I wrote this thing at the beginning because I was thinking about like why I was so bored with this show. You know, here's the thing. I watch so much television. I probably, I have a list. I just the other day talked about what shows I was watching this weekend. If you haven't watched that video, you can go over there and see it. And so like every week, I think I have 10 to 20 shows that between myself and my husband, that I watch that are, every week, like Amazing Race, Survivor, The Housewives, Only Murders in the Building, things like that I watch every episode that comes out. So I have my weekly Sister Wives, I have my weekly television shows that I keep up with. On top of that, I always have some long scripted show like Shetland to watch. And then I try to watch like the new shows that are coming out. Like I just watched, what was it? I just did the show. What was it called? The one about the Institute. Anyway, I just did the video about that. Why can't I remember what it's called? With Toni Collette. The Wayland Toni Collette show. I can't believe that. Okay, Toni Collette. What is the show called? Wayland, Wayfair. Why can't I remember what this show is called? It just came out. Wayward. I just did my reaction to that. That would actually be kind of a good example of what I'm talking about right now. So good thing that I had to look that up. I watch so many shows, and I just like finished, so last week I finished Wayward, and I finished The Billionaire's Bunker. I watch so much television that unless a show like really, really wows me, like I just watched Happy Valley on BritBox not too long ago. It was so fantastically done. The character development, the murder, the mystery. I mean, I could not wait to, when I talk about binge-worthy, I'm telling you this right now, and I'm not like, this is not a patch or, I watch so much television that if I say a show is binge-worthy, it's binge-worthy. Because there are a lot of shows that I get bored with. So what somebody, like for me, this show felt a little slow. It felt kind of corny. It felt kind of, the True Haunting, it felt kind of boring to me. Other people might love it, but I just watch so much TV that unless I'm absolutely wowed by it, it's just kind of a little subpar to me. And I think that's kind of really affecting a lot of my reactions over here. So anyway, because like I said, I watch so much television. So I watch this and like I said, I watch it in two separate parts, or two separate nights. The first part is about this guy named Chris. I believe it happened in 1984 at Geneseo College in upstate New York. And he was a freshman in college and he made all these friends in the dorm and he was living in this dorm. And then at some point, he starts getting not necessarily possessed, but haunted by this demon that comes in his room, okay? When I started this, first of all, I am not somebody that loves like dramatizations. I love true crime documentaries. I don't love dramatizations. What I will say about this is because it says that it's heavily dramatized, I thought the dramatization was done well. I thought it was done well, except for that the actors that played the main people, like when you see pictures of Chris when he was in college, he looked like, I mean, he ran like cross country and track. He was very thin and he looked like he was maybe like, I don't know, like 5'6" or 5'7". The guy that played him was like 6'1" and built. Like he was tall and big. He didn't look, other than having curly blonde hair, he didn't really look like Chris. So it was a lot about him and his friends living in this dorm, and in 1984, that was actually the aspect that I loved the most about it, was them kind of like talking about like having a toga party and hanging out and drinking in the room. And I don't know, it reminded me of like old horror movies that I used to watch, plus I graduated in 1990, so it wasn't too far on the heels of that. It reminded me kind of my high school years and stuff. So I liked all of that aspect of it. I liked hearing from past friends. But it was about this haunting, and he felt like he was specifically being haunted, and he couldn't figure out why. And he had this one friend that's heavily interviewed in it. It was like a photographer that like kept on pushing him to do this stuff. Like, no, we need to talk to it. The couple from The Conjuring, why can I not remember it? Lorraine, and why can't I remember any of their names today? I just did this reaction on my movie channel the other day. I have a movie channel below, by the way. I don't know why I can't remember any of these names. Lorraine, and I just watched that stupid, I know that I've watched all those movies. Anyway, the psychic couple that's in all the Conjuring movies, they go and they hear a lecture that they're giving at the time. And so then they like start doing this stuff that they talk about in their lecture to like pull the spirits out, which just makes it 10 times worse. Then he has a priest come and like do a blessing on his room. And so then his room's not as affected anymore, but then his friends are being haunted by it. And so then they start, all this stuff happens. His roommate goes and lives with his parents again. And then he and his friend, the photographer, are like, we got to figure out who it is. They figure out it's this guy from like this war way back in the day that died at this tree that's called, hold on a second. That's called, where I have it written down right here, the torture tree. And his name is Thomas Boyd. And so they find out that this is who it is. And so then like college and like they go their separate ways at the end of the year. None of them stay friends, all this kind of stuff. They actually interview him. I don't know why they waited so long to interview him. He's like on the second or third episode, at today's age, and still has the same curly blonde hair. And they interview him and he's like, I lost 40 years of my life. This is the thing about this. I want to make this very, very clear. I am not a skeptic. I 100% believe in this stuff, okay? I love paranormal investigations. I love all this stuff. But when they talk about how they have, like, pictures and there's evidence, like, I watch so much of this stuff that, baby, you better show a ghost walking right across. I mean, I want to see something, okay? Like, I don't want to hear something that, like, on the second one, they play this tape, and they're like, the baby drowned in the water. And I'm like, that's not what I heard. I don't know what you heard, but that's not what I heard. I heard scratches or something. You know what I mean? Like, I want evidence, especially if you're going to make me watch a 5-part show on Netflix about it. So then at the end of it, he goes home to his dad's house because his dad, like, helps him. He doesn't know who else to go to but his dad. He's afraid to give up his scholarship because he got a athletic scholarship to run for Geneseo College, which apparently is a really competitive school. I never heard of it, so I didn't know that. I'm pretty versed in universities, but I think I have heard of Geneseo College, but I didn't know that it was so Ivy League, as they speak. But anyway, so he goes back to his dad, and then later, the big thing at the end is that his mom is doing, like, ancestry research, and she finds out that, like, their ancestors killed this guy named Thomas Boyd, or found his body at the Terror Tree. So the connection is that Chris's ancestors from like 300 years before were the people that killed Thomas Boyd at the Terror Tree. And so when he would run by the Terror Tree through the woods was when, like, the ghost spirit would be like, ooh, and come out and be like, I don't know. Anyway, it was okay. I was very bored with it. And by the end of the third episode, I was kind of like, why? Because when you read the synopsis for it, it says something on here about this is one of two of the biggest international hauntings ever. Well, I follow a lot of paranormal stuff, okay? I read a lot of paranormal stuff. I've never heard of these cases before in my entire life. That's kind of something that's always interesting to me, also about, like, unsolved mysteries, is, like, why this case did you pick? So then the second one is called This House Murdered Me. Oh my God, I took so many notes on this. And it's about this woman, and she is raised Mormon. It takes place in Salt Lake City. As soon as she said she was raised Mormon, I was like, oh baby, okay, here we go. This is gonna be some Mormon stuff. I just know it. I have watched every Mormon documentary. Like I said, I watched Sister Wives. I feel like I've read When the Moon Turns to Blood about Lori Vallow in my True Crime Book Club. She's the one that killed her kid. She was Mormon. I mean, I watched Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I watched the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I feel like, I have read I watch every true crime about Mormons and all kind of stuff. And I was like, I just know this is going to be some crazy Mormon shit. I just know it is, right? And so it's about this couple, and they buy this house. So they have a break-in at their house, and then they want to move out, but they don't have any money. And so they find this house, and this house is like this huge house in this neighborhood of Salt Lake City that they could never afford. But the house needs so much work. I mean, the husband refers to it as a money pit at some point. The house, literally, they never really show the house because somebody's living in the house today, and has lived there ever since they, like, cleansed it. So parts of this kind of reminded me of Poltergeist a little bit, honestly, at the very end, because they're, like, walking into this hotel. It reminded me of the scene from Poltergeist. But anyway, I'm still like Lorraine and Warren, the Warrens, yes, that's their name. Anyway, so, Lorraine and Ed Warren, is that their name? I'm getting it all wrong, aren't I? Anyway, so they buy this house. They get it for like a cheap rate because it needs so much fixing up in. So they start doing all this fixing up in this house. Their two sons live with them. She got pregnant when she was 16 years old, and her mom was like, oh, no, no, no. They looked down on her as a Mormon, and everybody at the church and all this kind of stuff. I don't know how she went into the temple. As much stuff as I have read about the LDS church, I don't know how she was able to go into the temple at 16 years old pregnant. But anyway, that's besides the point. So she has a son that she had when she was 16, and then she has a younger son. His name is Shane. He is heavily interviewed because he is kind of haunted through this whole thing as well. So they move into this house, and Shane's being haunted by this kid named Benjamin, which he just thinks, it's really kind of interesting how he explains it. He really just thinks it is like the first story with Chris, by the end of it, I was kind of like, was this just a bunch of college kids, like, having fun, and, like, how much is there really real to this story? The second one, I was like, okay, like, I really believe this story. The Shane kid is so emotionally distraught over this. I mean, he's now, like, probably 25 or probably 30, and he's interviewed heavily in it. I mean, he talks about how he had this friend named Benjamin, but he never called him over, he never knew his parents, like, he would just be there. And he's like, I didn't know in retrospect, like, I didn't know, like, I thought he was, like, a real person, is basically what he says. And so the kid is haunting the house. There's all this weird stuff going on. The mom, like, they don't have any money. So the mom goes and gets, and the dad is a contractor, but he hasn't been working a whole lot. So he's, like, putting all of his work into this house. So the mom goes and gets a job answering phones for an escort agency in Salt Lake City. Now, I'm sure this is not the name of it, but I loved it when she would answer the phone and she'd say, Salt Lake City Secrets, how can I help you? I need 3 girls for $650. I loved that this woman worked for a escort agency. I mean, that was always my dream job back in the day. Anyway, no, I did. I watched that Mayflower Madam movie. Oh my God, did you ever see that? It was so true. I love that movie with Candice Bergen back in the day, Mayflower Madam. It was, oh my God, I should watch that for my movie channel. It was a made-for-TV movie. So anyway, I always thought that would be so fun to work for an escort agency and answer the phones. But anyway, that was when I was in high school, maybe middle school. That was my dream in middle school. To work for an escort agency answering phones. But she does, and it's called Salt Lake City Secrets. But before that, the day they move in the house, there's like always banging pipes, and they think somebody's breaking the house. So Dad's like, oh my God, not another break-in. So anyway, over the course of 2 episodes, all this crazy shit happens in the house. The grandma comes to stay one night when she's got to work at the Secrets and the dad's out of town for a contracting job. Somebody pulls the grandma from her bed. There's demons in the house. They're sleeping in the hallway. Then they come back. The mom's had some wine. She gets somebody's trying to drown her in the bathtub. All this crazy shit happens. So finally one night, the dad goes down the basement. He hears, they sage the house, okay, and say all these prayers. And she thinks they've cleansed the house and all this kind of stuff. So then they go down the basement, and then she's drinking wine, and then the dad's like, she drinks too much wine, and then all this crazy stuff happens, and then they grab their bags, and they go and they stay in this motel. Well, by this point, at one point, the dad runs outside the house, and he's like yelling at the house. He's like, what the fuck do you want from me? And then the neighbor comes over, and he's like, feels sorry for him. So he goes to the neighbor, and he's like, what happened to this house? And he tells him that there was a couple that lived in there before, with kids, and basically the exact same thing. Like, the dad was trying to fix the house. And that when they find out that the reason they're being haunted is because the guy that's haunting the house didn't want them to remove the boards to this hidden room where he was keeping these kids, and he burnt a kid in the boiler. Anyway, so this other family moved in there, and then the wife, because the dad was so obsessed with the house, she ends up leaving her husband and taking the kids. He moves into this motel, apparently the same motel they ended up staying at, because the dad's like, I feel like I'm retracing his steps. And then he ends up taking his life, the guy from that lived in there before. And so originally they think it might be him that's haunting the house, and they just have to set him free. But it's not. It's this guy from 100 years ago that was Mormon, and he was abusing his kids and his wife, and he didn't want his kids to get to the age of 8, because at the age of 8, you confess your sins when you're baptized. And so then if they confess their sins, they knew that the dad would be found out for all this stuff that he was doing to the kids and to the wife, right? And so he killed supposedly, they had this clairvoyant. Her name was Debbie. I would definitely trust a clairvoyant named Debbie. But anyway, she came out and did a lot of this kind of stuff. And so then she said, this house is clean. Like Poltergeist, right? But then they got out of the house, and the house is clean. So anyway, now she said they're nomads, and they moved to the Pacific Northwest, and they just travel around now. But the poor kid, Shane, he's still having mental breakdowns and stuff like that. He actually looked up the house at one point, and he found out that the same people that bought it from them still live in the house, so it must not be haunted anymore. The house is clean. So she doesn't say that, but I wish she would have. But anyway, she just walks out of the house, and she says, don't ever call me again for this house. Basically meaning this house is clean. So that was that. It was okay. It was a fun Halloween watch. But would I recommend it to people? No, I didn't think it was that great. Now I'm remembering everything. Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'm remembering The Wayward, Toni Collette, Mae Martin. I'm remembering everything. It's ticking now. It's ticking. Anyway, if you've watched it, let me know. I mean, I didn't ruin everything for you if you watched it. The pain on these people in the second part talking about it. I mean, Chris I felt bad for too. He's basically given up his entire life. He wanted to be in the Olympics. It never happened for him because of the guy at the Terror Tree. But unfortunately, the other family, they just to this day seem like they are completely terrorized about it. But the mom does turn it into kind of a teaching moment, which I kind of love at the end of that. So anyway, that was that. Let me know if you watched it, what you thought in the comment section below. I said corny at the beginning. I don't know if corny is the right description. I was just kind of surprised these are the two. They called it the Red Rum House. I mean, and I was like, do you mean the Stanley Inn? The Shining? And then there was this stuff painted on the wall. This house murdered me. That's why they called it that, from the guy that lived in there before. Anyway, if you want something spooky to watch late at night, yeah, I'd recommend it. It's entertaining. But do I think it's a show that you're going to run to your friend and be like, you have to watch this? No, absolutely not. It's a good 5, 6 out of 10. Anyway, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.